Introspect, take a sec, watch it step, where you step, when you step, falling free through the sky, feel the breeze, feel the eye, all your fears, let them die, energy never lies, introspect, take a second, let your world unfold.
I just realized the time, Lord have mercy.
Right. Yeah.
See, he didn't count us down, but you know
No,
what?
I will never count y'all down.
It's cool. It's cool.
All right.
God gonna get
Back
you.
at it again. Let's see what we got here. Oh man.
Oh man.
It is me. Hold on, let me start that over for John. John, you gotta do it again, John. Say it again, John.
Win some, you lose some. But you live. You live to fight another day.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Welcome to Let Me Speak, episode 4. My name is Cecil Williams. I'm your host for today for another episode. And of course, we got our good buddies. I won't say suspects anymore. There's too much going on in the world. I don't say suspects. I retired that word. Good buddies. The Do-Rag Gang. Gang.
We prefer the do-rag dons.
The Dons? Yikes.
Facts.
The Dons.
And soon, we're going to be debuting some stylish do-rags on future episodes.
Who's Do-Rag Don number 1?
Osa's older.
No, but wow.
I'll take that. I'll take numero uno.
Okay. Well,
we're Nigerian. We're respectful of our elders, all right?
Don 1 and Don 2.
Don't try to cause a rift between us, Shook Diddy. Relax.
There's no rift. I see y'all banding together. Got your do-rag on. You know, I see you. It's all right. But got our good buddies,
I feel like
Abraham,
he's patronizing us.
and Otan.
He is. He still is.
Wait, what?
He really is. No, don't even trip. Don't even continue.
All right.
Continue.
All right. We still got somebody missing action. She's on the DL still, but she's coming back soon. LJ will be back with us. So for those who are asking and wondering, like, who's that lady in the cartoons? I never see her. She'll be here. Don't you fret.
The one next to Black Clayface.
There it is.
Bang, bang. Yes. So, fellas, how are we doing today? I know last time we talked, Lil Rocky, we wasn't feeling it. A lot of stuff happening. But today, how are we feeling?
We feeling.
Yeah, we feeling.
Pause. What?
I mean, here's the thing, though.
Oh, what you mean pause? Hey.
What is wrong with you?
Okay. You know what it is? No. You know what it is? It's the same thing as always. This man got a new haircut, and so all of a sudden, he thinks he better than
all right,
us.
first of all, we got something to tell y'all, audience. This is us restarting the recording.
Talk about it.
We had tried for the last 50 minutes.
50.
Unfortunately, things started going down the hill when Cecil decided to make it full screen and show off his fresh cut. And then he was like, yo, I don't know how to fix it. And so for like 5 minutes, it was focused on him, and that was it. So first of all, don't let him fool you. Shook Diddy. Hey, okay, when you zoom in, you see what I got on the whiteboard? You see what's on that whiteboard right there?
Say her name.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Say his name.
Uh-huh.
All Black Lives Matter.
For all those who like to say all lives matter, well, let me remix it. All Black Lives Matter.
Bang, bang. And black is bold.
Hell yeah. Y'all see that? Y'all already know what it is.
Now.
But yeah, don't let that distract you from Cecil pulling a Shook Diddy and trying to act like
sick of this.
None of this is his fault. Like, just causing division, causing delays, trying to act superior.
To clean this up, I was not intentional about delaying anything. My computer is a little old. I'll say that. And so
he rather focus on its fresh cut. That's all.
Oh, your computer's old. Now you got ageism going on around here.
No fret.
Wow.
Everything will be fixed.
So what's wrong with old people?
What's wrong with old people? They're beautiful. I'm old.
You sound like El Presidente when he was talking about that 75-year-old man who got pushed over.
Yo, oh my goodness, dog.
Are you comparing me to the orange head?
Yeah, now you gotta fight away. You gotta fight.
That's okay. All right.
Whoa. I'm not involved. I'm backing out.
Oh,
I'm just
sub him
minding my
out.
business.
Sub him out. Coach, get him.
The fighting words, dog.
No, I'm not. Please, no, God, please don't. But anyways, y'all never asked.
Let's have a moment of reconciliation.
How-
I
okay.
didn't mean that you were the orange man. That was me talking out of turn. I'm sorry.
Because I feel like
Yeah,
there's
sorry.
another knife coming.
What? No, really. That was.
No,
you know,
it did sound like
in
that.
these times,
Like alley was coming, right?
I've come to a realization over these past 3 weeks now since George Floyd's murder, and it was basically the match to the powder keg that is everything right now. We spend so much time going at each other, going at others, just being, I think, reactionary, that we don't take enough time to slow up and engage in moments of reconciliation. So that's all I'm trying to model. It was a little reactionary to me for me to say you sound like the minister of MAGA in your approach to the elderly. That was wrong of me.
Okay,
That's very mature.
thank you. Thank you.
That being said, it was still hilarious that you got compared to him, though. We ain't going past just. It's gonna come up in the next couple of days. It definitely is. In the group chat.
I'm glad you're talking about reconciliation. Abraham, how are you doing? You didn't answer it. You're dodging.
All right, because
Moment of silence.
it was. I can't say that things have gotten better because it hasn't overall. Like there have been some good things that have happened this past week, but then there have been some other things that just revert me back to just being frustrated and angry. And I feel a rant coming on, and I think I will end up ranting. But I'm not going to start off with a rant right now. Let's try to be positive until I'm ready to rant.
You sure you don't want to get out the way now?
I mean, it depends how we gonna dive into this because.
We starting off with a. Well, we are start. I do want to get this person out the way because I know she's been talked about enough. She's what was the equation? What'd you say? Two truths in the line.
No, two Virgils and a Candace.
Two Virgils. Keeping it two Virgils, y'all. Two Virgils plus one Candace. Two truths and a lie. So this woman, I really didn't know like too much about her like that until this weekend, honestly. People say she's known for making some really bold comments. Author, politician, always pretty much on the white side of things. I haven't heard that too much, but of course I seen this Facebook Live video of her. I saw it on Twitter, actually. Somebody was like just drilling her. And I guess she said some stuff about, well, not I guess, because I know. She was saying stuff about Floyd, saying, number one, he wasn't that great of a man. Like he wasn't amazing. So let's not do this. A, B, C, D, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, okay. What else do you have to say?
Mm-hmm.
She proceeds to say, that it's a myth. Black, being unarmed or pretty much the racial climate. It's a myth. This discrepancy and stuff. It's a myth. She proceeds to give out some stats that honestly are warped. They're not really accurate. She keeps saying it's true. They're not at all. And I seen it and I immediately was livid. I mean, if I didn't care about my phone, I probably would have thrown it. But
yeah, you got laptop issues. Let's not get phone issues.
Let's not. Let's do that. Yeah. So the that she just pissed me off. I don't even know what to say. So one of the things that I realized, I'm looking at this and I'm like, okay. The number one thing she said that pissed me off was George Floyd was not an amazing man. Okay. We know, and I feel like this is not the first time where people have kind of belittled someone's death where they say, oh, he's not that amazing. Oh, he's not, let's not get overboard. But number one, it's still disrespectful. I don't care who you are to speak on somebody in that regard. Number one. Number two, if you're going to come up on the video and say that, then what's really the point of the video? Like, there is a waste of film. honestly, if you're really gonna start off saying that. Because for you to say, oh, George Floyd is not that amazing and he should be, he had trouble with cocaine and he had many, many, warrants and all this stuff. Here's the harsh truth. Let's keep it to Virgils. One of the things that we can acknowledge is the fact that, okay, did he have a past? Sure. So if that's the case, then he should be in jail. That's the fact. But the monkey wrench in this is at least he's in jail alive. Like, that's the caveat to this that I feel like she even missed. Like, he's not in jail and he was out living his life, whatever. And obviously you seem like you have a problem with it now since he's dead. So excuse us for trying to live. But the fact is that at least he's alive. And that is one of the biggest things that I feel like people, not just her, but even white supremacist groups and white people in general, they miss that. They miss the alive factor. We just want to live. Like, we just want to get old as Black people, to grow and to have fun and to go out without worrying about dying. That's literally the simple thing. And people are missing it right now. They feel like we just want a whole bunch of stuff. We want a whole bunch of orders. We got a big fat menu and we're just requesting, all this stuff. We really don't want a whole lot of stuff. And I keep saying it every week past 2 episodes. And I've said that the fact is we just want to be considered equal. And somebody said it, I forgot the name. She posted a great video. And she was like, you're lucky that we don't want revenge. Honestly, we don't, lucky that we want revenge. Because to be truthful, there's just as many, if not more, of us. Even if we are getting killed unarmed, there's a lot of us that have died. But at the same time, there's a lot of us that are still living. So the fact that, no, we don't want revenge actually says a lot. When rightfully so, if we wanted to ask for revenge and actually contribute or something, you can't really blame us. But at the end of the day, because we have our right mind and we still want to see people like how they see us, want to see us as that's the thing that really bugs me about it. So react. What you think about Candace?
Well, this is funny. I was pissed off, but probably not for the reason that I think most people would expect. Let's backtrack a little bit. That Tuesday when the video came out of George Floyd's, we'll call it a lynching, okay? Immediately,
definitely a lynching.
Steven Jackson puts a statement out there, does a video. He's in tears. That was my twin. That was my guy. He was a loving father. Just listing all the things off about George Floyd's character and who he was. Then, rapper by the name of Corey Paul. I think Corey Paul signed. He's not signed to Reach. I think he signed to Collision or what's left of it. He made a statement. He said, listen, the George Floyd that I knew, this was the George Floyd that I knew, and list off this rap sheet and then told everybody, spread this message before people try to come out and slander this man's name. That was 2 weeks ago. And here we are 2 weeks later, and Candace Owens does this video and says, and actually, no, a week after the video came out, after the video George Floyd's murder comes out, the police, the president of the police union, Bob Kroll, who is a known, Trump supporter, and is, said the police union is going to sue the police department, Minneapolis PD, for firing these 4 officers without just cause, without due process. He comes out and says, how dare you guys rush to try to glorify this man? Look at his rap sheet. He wasn't a good person. So it's sad that people like Steven Jackson, Corey Paul had to come out and say immediately, not just their condolences and their grief, but to try to protect the reputation and the character and the legacy of their friend because they knew that the character assassins were going to come out, which is something that is frustrating when we have these moments. Mike Brown, oh, he was high and he fought the officer. Trayvon Martin, oh, he had marijuana in his system. By the way, the war on drugs was started by the Nixon administration as a way and a means to directly target blacks and people of color. Marijuana, if you look at the list of just drugs and narcotics, is one of the lowest impact, is one of the lightest and mildest. But what did they do? They called it marijuana. Why? So because marijuana sounds a little Spanish, so that it has this skewed effect on people's perception of the drug, right? You look at some of our if you want marijuana. If you want some more info on this, go ahead and watch the documentary Grass is Greener on Netflix. Great insight into it. But the thing they always bring up, Botham Jean, even though this woman barged into his apartment and shot him in his own home, what did they bring up? Oh, he had trace amounts of marijuana in his system. It's always the cop-out. They try to slander our character so that they can somehow justify the fact as if it's karma or retribution or you reap what you sow, when these things happen to us, when we are brutally murdered and unjustly murdered. Then, to take it a step further, Candace Owens was in there talking about, I don't know why you guys are lifting up George Floyd as some hero, as some martyr. Nobody lifted him up as a hero or a martyr. What happened is this, because this is why I fully believe this case was different than any other, because Eric Garner was choked out on tape. We're sitting here in the middle of this dang pandemic. Everybody's emotions are high. Tensions are high. And then you had the Ahmaud Arbery situation. We got a little glimpse of what happened. We didn't see the full situation. But George Floyd comes along because we're already fighting for Ahmaud Arbery's killers to be arrested. We're already fumed over the situation with Breonna Taylor. And then now this. And everybody, the whole world, for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, got to watch this man have the life choked out of him. This is not a matter of people lifting this man up as a hero or a martyr. This is a matter of people looking and seeing the brutality and the injustice and saying, listen, I have had enough. So Candace Owens, if you want to sit here and collect checks for you to make these asinine takes, you have blood on your hands. That's blood money. You're no better than Judas Iscariot. So go ahead, take that, put that in your money chasing pipe and puff, pass that off to the rest of the others.
Oh, that doesn't explode.
So, I'm sensing energies are high today. As a result,
okay, therapist,
you know what? I might as well jump in. So, okay, so you touched upon something that really pissed me off. All right, not that you pissed me off, but it reminded me of what pissed me off. Okay. So,
I'm like, again,
like no, not you.
Tag him in.
So today, the New York Police Department, I won't even say his name because it's irrelevant, had a press conference today. And in that, this leader of the police department, this white man, with frustration, you could see it in his face, you could hear it in his voice. He was frustrated, he was upset. He was tired of the disrespect to the cops. He said that, look, we are not Minneapolis police, but we are still police, that we're not getting the respect we deserve. Our legislators have abandoned us. The media vilifies us, and he won't stand for this because we have a job to protect and serve, and we're here to protect, and we're being disrespected. And so when I kid you not, I watched this like 5 times, and each time I watched it, my smile kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I was cheesing because I was looking at this, and I was like, dang, my guy, you are getting a tip of what it means to have the black experience. You really are. He talked about for the past 2 weeks, the protests and all that with everybody, with how rude they've been, how they make the cops seem worse than they actually are and whatnot. I was like, wow, you're really you're just not even, you don't understand it, because clearly you don't understand it, but you are getting a glimpse of what it means to be a black man in America, what it means to be a black woman in America, what it means to just be a black person in general, not only America, but in this country. Because you talk about legislators abandoning you. Sir, you grew up I know you didn't grow up in a black neighborhood, but you can visit a black neighborhood, let's say Newark, New Jersey. You visit Newark, New Jersey, and then you visit Livingston, New Jersey. There's a stark difference in the environment. and the cleanliness and in the establishments that are available. There's a stark difference. And you want to know why? Part of that has to do with legislation. Part of that has to do with the people in power paying more attention to a place like Livingston or Short Hills rather than to a place like Newark. You think gentrification is the way to go? Gentrification doesn't hurt you. It hurts people of my skin color and all different shades. Gentrification pushes us out. But hey, New York Police Department feels that legislators are abetting them. Then he had the audacity. I can't believe he had the audacity to say that the media is vilifying them. Oh, really? The media vilifying the police.
Welcome home. Welcome to our club.
Black people have been vilified for centuries. I can't even explain how often I've walked down the street and I've had white people, or not even just white people. I've had Latinos, I've had Asian people start to quicken their pace. I've had them avert their eyes. Me, just minding my business, have a smile on my face. It's a good day. Can't explain the amount of times I've been in the parking lot of a store, just exiting the vehicle to go to the entrance of a Walmart or to a Cardenas or whatnot. And all of a sudden you hear random car doors just locking.
Yep.
As if I was eyeing their vehicle when I'm not even paying attention. But you hear that click. You grow to learn that sound as a black man or a black woman in America. Yep. The amount of times that you are driving on a highway and the police slows down and looks at you and then starts to follow you a little bit. Or when you have the unfortunate moment to get pulled over. The amount of looks that police officers will give if let's say there's a white person who's driving and you're the black person, they kind of eye you a little bit like, but you see the sense of relief when they talk to the white driver, or they see white passengers, make sure they're good. The amount of times that I've had to deal with that, or even at school, I have an accomplishment. Oh, it's because he's black. That's why. It's because he's black. He got an advantage. They were nice to him. They were being lenient. Oh, okay. Or the times where I didn't have accomplishments, where I ended up failing. What do you expect? He's black. He doesn't belong here. Doesn't belong with us. He can't do this.
Preach.
So for this police officer to think that, I'm going to feel for you. You must be out your goddamn mind. Must be out your goddamn mind. Ain't no way.
At the end of the conference, when he got done talking, he looked around and he had some sort of emphatic last line, and it was this slow clap, nobody didn't know what to do.
Yep,
it wasn't like a thunderous clap. It was just
okay. Your own police officer, yeah, but I'm not sure I would've said it like that. And then as they scan the police officer crowd behind them, you see that one black individual is just
damn.
So don't come to me with that nonsense, because the thing is, that rant showed me that you still don't get it. I'm glad that you're starting to experience it a little bit, but still don't get it. You don't understand that what we're fighting for is not really to fight against white cops. We're fighting prejudice. We're fighting racism. And unfortunately, it's embedded in the police force. And that's not the only place. Oh, trust me. Like I mentioned several examples, it's embedded in everyday society when you're going to the grocery store. It's embedded when you're driving on the road. It's embedded when you're at school. It's everywhere. That's what people are protesting about. That's why we're up in arms. That's why we're angry. That's why we're yelling. That's why we're screaming. That's why we're fighting. Because you guys are over here just thinking oh, it's because of police brutality. You're calling all cops racist, blah, blah, blah. It's well, show me proof that cops aren't racist. But hey, like I said, that's just a minor component. It's just the starting point of all of this. But it's not the end all be all. And by no means do you think that little laws being passed is enough to satisfy us. No, we're not taking that. Look throughout history, all the laws that have been passed. Have they actually helped? No, because there's ways, loopholes. There's always loopholes. There's always ways to avoid that. Even look at New York Police Department. Recently, it looks like they're about to appeal a law called 50A, which apparently the original use of that law when it was established in, I believe, sometime in the 60s, was to prevent elected officials like police officers from being falsely accused. So you couldn't have access to their police reports and whatnot. But what it has done is actually protect police departments in general, even when there's substantial evidence to make accusations against them.
Yep.
So again, all these laws being passed, like the Breonna's law that has been passed in Louisville, which is like, okay, cool. So you're making it much more difficult for no knock warrants to be issued. Okay, that's not enough. That's still not enough, because of course there's ways to go about it. No law is 100% perfect. All laws have loopholes, and history has shown us that we will take advantage of any and every loophole available. So
these
that's
laws
my rant.
don't really mean these laws don't mean a whole lot because of the fact that Breonna Taylor's killers are still not arrested.
Facts.
We can go back all the way to Trayvon Martin. Zimmerman is still free. He got feast actually.
He was laughing. He got
the
the gun that he killed Trayvon with.
He's probably living fine right now. Sterling, like the list goes on. Garner's, like they're still out here free. And the thing, because I kind of feel like as much as we want laws changed, it's almost like this catch-22. It's like we're protesting about laws, but meanwhile you have white supremacist groups or even the killers themselves are like, the attention's not really on us, it's on the laws. It's not really on us being arrested or convicted. And I hope that we are paying attention to both, not just, okay, let's just forget about the killers, but now let's get these laws changed. No, these jokers still need to get in jail. They need to be in jail for a long time. So I just don't want us to forget that.
How dare this police officer, this guy, make it seem like they're not held accountable. He's not holding his own department accountable.
Facts.
How many times just in the past few days have we seen videos, and not like old videos? We've seen videos just from 6 hours ago, from the weekend, of police brutally attacking individuals, like the one with the cop in the Latino's face, just wrestling against his car. He's just like, yo, what? And he's just, don't mad dog me. Don't mad dog me. Why you mad dogging me? Getting all aggressive for what? For what? And the video from LA where a guy's being arrested, and all of a sudden the cop starts wailing out of nowhere.
Oh yeah,
just wailing out of nowhere.
Sterling's death happened in New York.
Who?
Oh, yo, you look at some of these recent, not even just historically, the killing of black men and black women. A good number actually come from New York.
New York's notorious. Yeah. As a matter of fact, in the run up to
but hey, don't vilify the New York Police Department. It's like,
in the run up to this, as people were talking about states reopening post quarantine, like. And then the Ahmaud Arbery shooting, you juxtapose those. Sean King had instance after instance after instance with NYPD where you see them being, I mean, just it's wild. You see on the one, like just like you just did that disparity, between neighborhoods and cities. On the one hand, you go to a park in New York and it's full of white people and they're handing out face masks to them. You go down the street to a funeral in a black community where people are grieving and mourning, and the police are over there going hard on them because they're not social distancing. Like the audacity, and then the double audacity because Governor Cuomo had already come out and said this past week, and we talked about this offline this week. We actually kind of debated a little bit about it. He said, "Listen, disrespect of NYPD is unacceptable." Now, the context was he was specifically talking about the rioters and the looters who were being unruly, but still, for you to have the audacity to say, Mr. O'Meara, that your legislators have a bet, the governor, the chief executive of your state came out and gave a show of support and said, listen, we're not going to treat our police officers like that, our law enforcement like that. But you want to sit here and cry and complain and say you've been abandoned. Like Abe said, welcome to the black experience. But even with changing laws, I'll say this, and you can take it away.
Let me sip on the blood of these white individuals.
Jesus. changing laws doesn't change hearts. That's why we're sitting here 55 years post the Voting Rights Act being passed, and it's been dismantled piece by piece over the past 5 to 10 years in a lot of these southern states. So we can change laws all day, but laws just place a Band-Aid until people's eyes are open to see that this is deeper than just a law and order issue. Because think about it, law and order was used to enforce this systemic racism for so long.
Jim Crow era? Speak on it.
It took a change of heart. And I think that's why someone like Martin Luther King Jr. was so impactful. Even though he was the most hated man in America at the time, he was still impactful. And the ones who are fighting for change now, as we fight for change, we may be hated right now, but I guarantee you on the other side of history, they'll give us our roses. They may not give it to us now, but I'll be dang sure that they're going to see my son's generation and my grandchildren's generation giving us our roses.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, and one of the biggest things even during this time is people have to understand, are Black people as a whole, are we racist? Actually, no. And because the moment we get like this, or the moment we are, irate and I guess to their words, violent and disruptive, we take that on and they think that we're actually being what we are stating that they are, racist. And it's like, no, we're not racist. We're not, we're not trying to be racist to white people. In general, we're not. And all three of us, I can say we are not racist at all. But when you have all these brutalities, when you have all this stuff for centuries and decades and years and months and weeks and days of it compiling and piling and piling, of course you want to see change. Does that mean now we hate all white people? No. But as far as the brunt of where it's coming from, it is from white supremacists and white people who have put these laws in and put these different things in that have, like Abraham said, have created loopholes throughout the history of time. Every law it seems like every law that they have implemented has had some sort of loophole or a catch or a something. And so the main thing that we just desire is make laws that are for everybody, not just for your benefit, even when it looks like it's for us. If you're gonna say, okay, we're gonna create for example, we're gonna create an Amy Cooper law, which I find that hilarious a little bit. If we're gonna do an Amy Cooper law, okay, then make sure that thing does not have a loophole for you. Like that's the thing. Like if you're gonna create that, if you're gonna do a Breonna law and all this stuff, okay, fine. So let's not let this be smoke and mirrors here. Like we get it. Thank you. But is there a loophole in this? And if there is, we're still back at square one. Exactly. So there has to be. Yeah,
you have the laws like Tuscan Police Department where the wording is very unclear and very ambiguous.
Very vague.
Recording police is a criminal offense now. And the way they're trying to say is like, no, it depends if you're like if you're in a crime area. It's like, well, what defines a crime area? Oh, well, that's up to their discretion. Oh. Well, there's a big loophole right there.
Discretion is a meter. Like discretion, it could be here or here. Like, that's what discretion is. So
you're
that makes no
legislation like that, and you're wondering why we're still making noise. Like people thought that the protests it'll die out. You just gotta wait. Oh nah. You know what this generation of people, what this era of people are finally doing is taking notes from our past, taking notes from our ancestors, from our parents, from our grandparents. Also, you used to say it all the time. All those protests that happened back in the 60s, they were successful because of what? They lasted. They weren't just a weekend thing. Yep. They lasted.
Yep.
And right now you're seeing we're not just going to be for a weekend. We're going to keep it pushing. Whether it takes a year, 2
our
years.
Our generation actually is when it comes to this topic of racism, our generation doesn't really. They feel like it's a fight. This is a debate with this generation when it comes to the white people that's in our generation. When you look at the generation after us, the people, even the teenagers that you see now in protests being involved that are non-Black, they don't see what we saw because they're around, different cultures now in schools and in sports and all this stuff. They're not around just one race anymore. Like how maybe even we were rapping in the 90s. Like when we grew up in our neighborhoods, it was predominantly what? Black. So now everything has become so gentrified and so mixed that growing up, either this generation is now realizing, oh, racism, we have a problem, or now you have a group that's saying, wait a minute, this is horrible. Like, this can't fly. And you do have more white people, you do have more Asians, you have more Latinos, you do have more other ethnicities promoting and say, hey, this is wrong. And I think that's why this does feel slightly different. It does feel strange in a good way to see, so many people. And, let's not act like it's just, a small group. No, it's actually a lot of people that's fighting against this. It is. 18 countries, I think all 50 states and 18 countries are part and protested. That's one of the largest civil rights movements. Trump made a comment talking about, the countries they're against us. They're laughing at us. Well, look at the film, Doc. You have Spain, you have England. Why. Yeah, you have Mexico, Nigeria. Africa came with the business. I don't know if you guys seen that video, but it's this lady that held a press conference, and if she wanted to cuss, she let them have it. And I think it was an African. I think it was it was a politician. It was a politician, but it was a woman, and she went off. She was like, "We will not have it. We're not about to be treated like we're some animals or beast. We are one body. We are one person, and we need to be treated respectively. And we are on your side, all the way here from Africa." And it was funny that she said that because I think Trump was actually the first one to make this comment, like, "Oh, Africa's laughing at us. Like they're one of the countries that don't want nothing to do with us." And we're looking like, bruh, like, check the film. Like, hey, they're actually on our side. So it is good to see.
The African continent is laughing at you, not the country, but the continent.
Continents.
The whole continent.
I didn't do social studies well.
It's okay. The whole continent is laughing at you. The same continent that y'all raped and pillaged to build this country, but that's another story.
Yikes.
That's the crazy thing though. Cecil brought that up because let's keep it two Virgils. Places they got their issues too when it comes to African people and black Americans and whatnot. Those countries, they're not exempt from this racism either. Nope. And yet you got people rising up and be like, look, yo, America, y'all wildin'. Y'all wildin'. Hey, change is gonna happen. Change is gonna happen.
Soon come.
Yep, I definitely believe that for sure. But shout out to those who've been protesting with us. Shout out to those who's got involved, whether you're black, white, Latino, African, Asian, it don't matter. The fact that you are standing up and saying, hey, something's not right. And even if I don't know, like even if I may not understand or don't know, I do know that this is wrong. Mm-hmm. So that's just a revelation that, us as black people, we just hope to see. Shout out to Sesame Street, put out it was touching, a video that I seen today. With Elmo, and most of us was like, yo, he got a pops.
Right?
He got a dad.
Like, when they introduced that.
It made Elmo look like a legit kid. But they put out this skit of Elmo like, yo, what is racism? I don't know what that is. Can you explain, Dad? It was touching. Like it was really, it just your heart a little bit because now you have this perspective of, kid with parent and dad having to explain this to somebody that has no clue. So I thought it was cool. I thought that was cool. Shout out to Elmo, Sesame Street.
It's so dope too because you remember when Nickelodeon did that thing where it's like, hey, for the next 8 minutes they did just the breathing, and people were like, "Yo, my kid was watching blah, blah. Like this is about."
Like, hold on, time out, hold on, this too much.
Clearly, you don't know how to approach the subject, so pop on Sesame Street with you and your kid, and they'll do it right there for you. Now that's also an issue. Then that tells me what type of person you are,
Yeah.
and it really is about uncomfortable. You just don't want to teach your kids the right thing to do. You don't want to admit that your rhetoric is wrong and flawed.
I don't
about
think it's
racism
necessarily
is
that
bold.
though. I don't think it's necessarily that though, Abe. I think it's more so along the lines of people thinking they're doing a good thing by teaching their kids to be colorblind.
Oh, that's another problem I got. This whole colorblind nonsense, like, yo, throw that out the window. Look, here's my thing. Look. I don't want to be colorblind. I'm a dark-skinned Nigerian American. I'm proud of that shit. Excuse my language. I am proud of that. I am a different shade than Cecil. I'm darker than Osahan. I'm happy. I love that. Don't tell me that you colorblind. Notice this. Notice. Because I'm different. We are not the same. But that's the beauty of it all, that we're not the same. Because
if you don't notice, then you won't have respect of that person's history. You're not going to respect the heritage. So for example, if Nigerians, if they do have certain practices on certain holidays or they eat certain foods, it's not just, sometimes there might be food that they don't just eat because it tastes good. Maybe that has a meaning to it. You know what I'm saying? Like, people have to understand the history
Nigerian
of a
jollof,
thing.
That's for the soul. That's for the soul. That's
jollof. I love jollof.
That's the only jollof that matters. The only one that matters.
I love jollof.
But that whole colorblind nonsense is like, yo, low key, that's like saying all lives matter. Honestly, it's equivalent.
Yeah, it is.
Like, don't come to. I hate it when individuals, when people who are in interracial relationships, they're like, oh yeah, because I'm colorblind. It's like, no, look.
Contain yourself, brother.
You know what?
To say that you are blind to someone's color, especially in the context that it's used, is to say that you are blind to what makes them, or part of what makes them unique in who they are. And so because we try to throw this colorblind language out there, in a way, it's kind of like colonization again, because with the colonization of everybody, right? Especially on the African continent, there was this effort to try to make the natives assimilate to the way that the colonizers were. And so if you didn't fit into that, if you weren't uniform with that, then there was something wrong with you. Then you must be too aggressive. Then you must be, because they try to do it in the name of Christianity, you must be a savage and you need to be civilized and you need to get to know the Lord. And it's the same thing now. Well, because you're ruining the unity of America. We're not ruining the unity of America. What is America? Stolen land, a country of stolen land, and the people that you stole the land from, you try to wipe them out, but ended up now they're on reservations, and the ones you brought in to work the land, who've done the literally the blood, sweat, tears, and lives that are soaked into the soil of this country, you're telling us to our face, I'm colorblind. I don't see color, so I don't see what makes you unique. And in doing so, like you said,
I'm gonna slap the color into you. Watch.
That's it. You take away those experiences, that history, that rich history, while y'all over here crying about the flag. You need to stand for my flag and what it represents. How about you stand for my goddamn skin color and what it represents as well?
Yeah. Yep. It's one of those things, man. We still have a long way to go. I think even going down this route of talking about racism, I guess sticking to that point, a lot of people are having, I guess, issues of talking about it within families, especially with this generation. This generation is more vocal. Mm-hmm. They're more sensitive to the matter. So now they're asking questions. They're even asking their own parents, family members, like, what is this? What is that? Or if they know, then they're like, yo, what is wrong with you? Like, are you bugging? Like, what is going on? And I've had friends that, and I'm sure you have, that you hear, like, they've lost friendships now. They've blocked people. They've, things have shifted because you found out they were racist. They probably said some stuff that you're like, whoa, hold on. Like, I didn't know you was feeling that in your belly. Yeah. I didn't know you was, doing that. I had a friend who, of course, listened to this podcast, and she appreciates what we do. And she asked the question of, like, how to handle the topic of racism within your family, because you get it, but they don't. And this she was non-black. She was non-black. Mm-hmm. And she's been a good friend. She's a former coworker, worked together like 6 years. And she was like, yo, this is horrible that you guys are going through this. But then it's the conflict of, okay, I'm showing empathy. I understand from the point of this is wrong, this is bad.
Yeah.
But now I have people around me that don't. And these are people that, love me and family and, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, how do I go through with that? And there was actually a question for us to answer that she wanted to ask us. So who wants to take that first? I'll be last.
Okay, I will. So here's my thing. Look, there is no easy answer for this because at the end of the day, this is your family, so the dynamic is different, and they're so rooted in their ideologies and their rhetoric that you simply cannot just change their mind just like that. You got to understand the difference in generations. You look at the youth of this generation. We're easier to to change our perspective and to realize like, you know what? But that older generation, come on now. They're just like, oh, nope, this is how it's always been. This is how I was raised. This is how I tried to raise you. This is it. This is law. Now, what you can do, and again, like I said, there's no easy fix, is just try to teach the idea of tolerance at the most basic level. There needs to be tolerance. Like, even if they don't fully understand or fully agree with it, if you're tolerant about something, that's at least a step forward. Because a lot of these people are just intolerant when it comes to their views that are stemmed in racism or prejudice. They're so stuck in it that they just refuse. And some, just like some people may lose friends, you may just lose family members in the sense of like, you know what? You're not right in my life. Like, your ideology is totally wrong. And that part of you, I can't accept and I can't respect. Now, you're still my mother, you're still my father, you're still my uncle, you're still my aunt. Blood is blood. But hey, not all kinfolk is skinfolk. So
listen,
look, it takes time, it takes patience, and sometimes the results won't be that well. Some people are too stubborn, they don't want to listen, they don't want to change. All right, well, what you know is what you know. In that case, what you can do to help better situations that you as a non-Black individual is to continue to understand. You, with your friends, continue to understand. And if you lose friends in the process, they wasn't meant to be anyway. You don't need them. I don't care. It's crazy how people are losing friends. Like, it reminds me of those cartoons, the movie that we all watched as a kid of Dr. Martin Luther King as a youth. I was just like, dang, so that is real life, huh? As a kid, I'm like, wow, that's messed up. But that would never happen with me and my friends. Mind you, all my friends are Black, so like, of course it wouldn't. But then it's just like, dang, in real life, people are actually doing that. My philosophy is like, okay, and they're irrelevant then. But just practice that sense of tolerance and empathy amongst yourself, with your family as best as you can in just terms of conversations, correcting. You don't have to physically fight them. You don't have to cuss them out. All about how you say it. If you're respectful with it and they still don't want to take acceptance of it, at least you did your part. But you can definitely make it easier about yourself, your friends, and if you have families, by instilling into the next generation that, the ideology of my parents and my grandparents, that ideology is wrong. It's harmful. It's dangerous. I'm going to show you my youngin', like, this is how you deal with people of differences. You accept them. You try to understand them. You love on them. You don't look at them as like, oh, I'm better than them. Oh, that person is really dark than me. They must be a savage. They must be threatening. They must want to try to kill or do this, that, and the other. No, we don't need all that.
Ozan, you got it.
Abe, you can maybe relate to this. Some of the prejudices that maybe some of our parents have.
Of course.
And having to grow up listening to those day in and day out, and you hear those at home, and then you go out into the world and you see and experience something different. And so I made it my determination. I'm sure Abe can tag onto this as well.
Oh, absolutely.
To respectfully disagree. you know, because I couldn't just come out and tell my parents, hey, you're wrong, you're tripping. I get the taste slapped out of me.
Oh, of course, you know,
listen,
of course.
It would happen, but taking my stand and doing what you know is right. Your family, the goal is not to get your family necessarily to agree with you. It's to get your family to see and do what's right. Because we're not always going to do right, but when we know what's right, it makes a difference. And so keep standing your ground, like Abe said. Keep embodying that compassion and that love, because we can preach it all day, but until we embody it as well and people see us embodying it, it's a different story. So keep, whoever you are out there, keep embodying that compassion. Yeah. Be willing to have the difficult conversations. And even if you feel like, oh man, they're not understanding what I'm saying, at least you sowed the seed, because you never know at what point when that will break. I have a coworker whose dad literally just told me this story probably 20 minutes before I hopped on this podcast. So, you know, his dad, coworker of mine's white, his dad is, you know, posting all these articles on Twitter, and on Facebook that are, you know, denouncing the movement, all the stuff from Fox News, all of those things. And a friend is someone who is, I mean, for lack of using a cliched word and beating the dead horse, he's woke at this point. Like, this is a guy who recently talked to me and was like, yeah, man, like, I'm really getting an understanding of what privilege looks like. And like, I can't believe that I fought for so long in this particular manner. So he's on the campaign trail, right? He's with us in this. And he realized, man, I got to have this conversation with my dad. Okay. And he was willing to have the conversation, not knowing how it would go. And he said he got a Facebook message from his dad that night. And his dad said, you know what, son, you're right. Like, I have been in the wrong in regards to this. But he never gets the opportunity to see that if he's not first willing to have the conversation. Absolutely. So don't be afraid to have, I will say this probably until I'm blue in the face, maybe to my dying death, have the conversation. A lot of what we see is due to the fact that we haven't had conversations, that we as Black folk haven't necessarily shared our experiences up until this time. We shared our experiences with family, or we shared our experiences with other Black folk. We shared it with our children to remind our children as a cautionary tale, be careful, you don't want to end up like so-and-so. But we never shared it with our white or non-Black friends to let them know this is my reality. Like, this isn't just what you see in the movies or what you see on TV. This is my reality that I live day in and day out. So have the conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. The conversation is needed. Even if they don't like it or disagree, at least you are opening your mouth and saying something. And I think this is two sides to people who are non-Black, but also to our fellow Black people. I think our generation is way less transparent, way less vulnerable. And that could be a disservice to your friends and your family. And because of that, you don't share your experiences. You don't talk about, you know, what's going on. And to those who are protesting and out there, fighting and doing what they do, I think it's important to also like know your history as far as Black people, like know why, like really know why, and don't do it because it's a trend. Don't do it because, you know, you're fed up over, you know, the last 10 years. No, you gotta know the last 400. It's not just the last 10 or the last 5. It didn't start with Trayvon. It didn't start with Ronnie King. Let's not get this. Let's not act like this is brand new.
Just saying.
Yeah, this has been 400 plus. 50, actually 450.
Please learn the history.
Please,
so you don't like on these mics at these protests and sound stupid.
Yeah, you got to. And I see it. I see it with people who are out there on the streets marching. To be honest, I do feel like a lot of these people that are marching don't actually know all of their history. Now, don't get me wrong. Protest, please, like, be out there. You know, demonstrate change, be the voice, continue to be the voice, as well as ourselves. But as you're being the voice, really study your history and appreciate it. A couple nights ago, I was doing something, and I was making a graphic actually, and I remember I was actually studying historic Black poets. My background is spoken word, for those who don't know.
Listen,
I don't know how I got onto it, but I was on Spotify and I clicked on, because, Spotify now has these Black playlists. One of the playlists was, shout out to Spotify, actually. They really stepped their game up. And Apple Music, too. They dedicated a day. But that was kind of like an industry day off. Anyways, Spotify had Black playlists, and one of them had like historical poems and speeches. And it had people like Margaret Baker, I believe, and Langston Hughes and Georgette, or it starts with a G. I can't think of the name, but it has a different feel to it. And people who would listen to that usually be like, oh, it's corny, it's silly. But when you really listen to it and all of its seriousness and just kind of leave your jokes aside of it, really listen to it. Like it has a whole different vibe to it that you could appreciate as a Black person. They wrote out of struggle. They wrote out of hope and seeing what, the future will look like. A lot of these poets, these historic poets, even Maya Angelou, they wrote from this unique eye of seeing the future. Like they were very, very keen on.
They were prophetic.
They were very, very prophetic on hoping and seeing what they believed, instead of relying on what's happening now, which was at that time the slavery and the brutality still back then, the unfairness in living in real estate and housing and all that stuff. So really know your history. All that to say, know your history, appreciate it. If you're not Black, it's okay. You don't have to. You don't have to. You ain't got. Listen. You don't have to do it. You read my mind. You read my mind. I was like, what is she doing? I guess this is a good segue.
All of them.
Good segue. So, as we say, know your history, but that means that don't make a mockery of it. Number one, and
You don't need to try too hard.
just don't try. You ain't gotta try. You ain't gotta be. You ain't gotta lie to kick it. Come on, Craig. You ain't gotta lie to kick it. So this was, I think, a couple of days ago. I don't know what day this will be when this episode comes out, but a few Democrats came, and announced a new law in honor of the memory of George Floyd and everything that's going on. They decided to take a knee, and it was, I didn't know how to feel. Like I wanted to be pissed. At the same time, I wanted to be like, that's cute, but not really. Like, come on, this makes us kind of remember the fact that a police officer with their knee and a Black person's neck. Thanks, but no thanks. I don't know what's your reaction to that, but when I saw it, I was just, my mouth dropped, and I'm like, are they serious? With their claws? With their claws? I'm like, oh God, I don't know.
Kente cloth stole. Like they graduated.
Oh, sorry, you want to take this one?
Like they graduated honors with a degree in ethnic studies. Here's what I would equate it to. Okay, I would equate it to if Cecil was having some white friends over, and Cecil's mom decided to cook that green bean casserole. Black folks don't.
My God.
It's just like you're trying to do something to show that, hey, like we get it. I'm hip. Yeah, I'm with it. I'm woke. Okay. Listen, you don't gotta do all of that.
Yeah, stay sleeping that time.
You don't have to do all of that. At the same time, though, I kind of blame, and they might be mad at me for saying this, I kind of blame Black folk, though, because we've put this undue burden on especially white people to show up right now. You need to stand up.
If you're silent, You on the other side.
Yeah, you silent, you racist, you a silent racist. And some people, it's not that they are silent, it's that they are processing. And some people would rebut to that. Well, what do you need to process about being racist? Here's the thing. Once again, when I say have the conversation, I guarantee you right now, if we take just the snippets of a lot of the rhetoric that's being thrown out there, especially on social media, if I was white, I would be deathly afraid to ask some of the questions that are in my brain. And some of the conversations I've had with some white people over the past 3 weeks, they've said this. It's been a consistent refrain. I'm glad I can have this conversation with you because I know I can't ask these questions anywhere else. Not that the thoughts in their mind are racist, but it's the fact that they have questions. So while we're telling them, you go read White Fragility, and they're coming back, I read it. I get it. I get that. But I still have these questions. Like, don't shoot me over the questions, you know. Right. And so we've put people in a frenetic state and in a like they have to walk on eggshells. Have the conversation. Let people process. You never know. I'll hit you with this story. Just this week, one of my coworkers sent me a direct message Monday morning. Said, "Hey, I know we didn't have a chance to talk yesterday, but I wanted to share something with you, a conversation that has resonated with me since it happened." She said, you know, back in January, February, you, me, and a few others, we were having lunch by the cafe, and you were talking about your experiences as a Black man in America. And it really hit home for me, so much so that I went home and I told my sons about it. Now, she's white. One of them told my sons about it. And since then, you know, I've been doing my research and you know, we've really begun to have the conversation about, you know, racism and all of that. And she said, you know, last week I brought up the civil rights movement to my 13-year-old and he was completely ignorant as to what it was, which was disappointing, but it let me know I need to continue to educate. And so we're having this discussion in my home. Now, here's the crazy part, guys. I watched her during the conversation and I thought in my mind, she's awfully quiet right now. Why are you so quiet? And she said this in her DM to me. She said, I just wanted you to know, number one, I appreciate you saying what you said, because for me, racism and inequality and injustice had always been something I saw on television or on social media. But to see that it was happening to someone who I work with and am close to, it really affected me. But she said this. She said, just because I was silent at the table that day doesn't mean my heart wasn't listening. And I think we have taken people's silence as if they're being complicit, as if they don't care, but not realizing that hearts are listening. And so it's up to us to continue to have the conversations, to sow the seed, to share our experience, because if not, we're going to end up with situations where, with like a Nancy Pelosi and a Chuck Schumer coming out with the kente cloth stole, and I'm gonna look at you like, bruh,
oh
really?
Gosh.
Really?
Yeah,
and don't you dare cook fried chicken when I come over either. Don't you do it. Oh,
listen,
don't you do it.
Don't you make no banana pudding, our version. Don't make what you do it. Don't you take the raisins out of your potato salad. You stay true to your roots.
Look,
don't do it.
Is also, you actually said something that I was just like, well, you know, I'm one of those people in the sense of a certain phrase. On last week's episode, I said silence will not be tolerated. I said that, and I still stand by that. Mm-hmm. But what I said beforehand is that you have to understand there are different ways for you to engage. You don't need to be out there on the streets protesting. If that's not your lane, that's fine. You don't need to be out there visibly doing something. There are many ways, whether it's financially, whether it's, again, like I said last week, having conversations with your friends and family. Now, of course, people won't see that in public, but when you're having those conversations with your friends and family in public, in private, changes start to happen, and those changes can be noticed.
Yeah.
Like we're in this era, and I do agree with you. We're in this era where if we don't see it publicly on social media, then it must not be happening, and therefore you're on the other side, and therefore you're an enemy. That's not the way it should be. Now, silence in general, like you yourself, if you can sit there, and you're listening or watching us, and say that, well, you know, I'm being silent, but I'm still with the cause. It's like, well, what have you done? Mm-hmm. You know, have you had conversations with your friends and family about this? Or are you just saying like, well, if I understand, that's it. That's all that matters. No, it shouldn't stop with you.
Man,
take time out of your day, out of your life to understand, to talk to your friends and family. At the very least, like people who want to be allies, at the very least, you're allies because most likely you have family members who are on the other side of the spectrum. So have those conversations. Even if it makes you uncomfortable, it makes you uncomfortable. How do you think we feel? Again, for me, I'm not going to be mad at you if you're not out there, marching on the streets, protesting. I get it. Protesting is a scary thing, honestly, with how everything is going on. There are many places where it's been peaceful, cool. There are many places where it's got out of hand. I understand if you're worried, That's fine. Yeah. I can't donate personally, and that's fine. That's fine. Oh, I want to support Black-owned businesses, but, they don't really cater. That's fine. That's fine. At the very least, are you having conversations?
That's it.
Oh, no. Okay, that's where your stallings will not be tolerated.
Yeah.
Plain and simple.
That's where we can't stall you out.
Yeah, I can't help you. We don't all have to do the same thing. We don't all have to get out and protest. We don't all have to get out and march. We don't all have to get out and, donate, but we all have to do something. And I think in doing something collectively, whatever your something looks like, that's where change comes. And us trying to guilt people into, if you don't do what I'm doing right now, you ain't about it. That ain't it, Jack. That ain't it.
You can't bully somebody into protesting, can't bully somebody into changing. That's just rule of thumb. Like, even if you subtract racism, you can't bully somebody into doing something you want them to do. Like, that's just it's ignorant, it's mean, it can't be tolerated, no matter who you are. So
black folks, if you're doing that, you are the oppressor. You're the oppressed who's now turned into the oppressor. Exactly. That's not the aim of this. Cool. Not the aim.
Not cool at all. That's us now moving backwards and actually not. It's almost like we lost the game plan. Like, we run the offense.
Jeez, run the freaking offense.
Run the offense. Don't you run no other play. Okay, just run the triangle. No ISO. Don't just keep the motion.
Run that Slim alone pick and roll.
You ain't the star like that. You can't just improvise on the fly.
Listen, man,
get it together, Bill.
Don't
Cartwright.
be calling timeouts on your own. Nobody asked you to do that. Bring the ball up, give the ball up, and move. Clear out.
Facts.
Clear out, dog.
Phil Jackson with the whistle.
Right. You gonna be what is Scotty? You gonna be Scotty in game 6 against the Knicks?
No.
You gonna sit out?
Kukoc still came in the clutch. So
Kukoc.
You don't want to see Kukoc come in the clutch.
Listen, we don't want to rely on Kukoc. All right, we want to make sure that we get our ducks in order and that we don't bully people into change. We want to make sure that we move hearts. We don't bully hearts.
That's
all right. So that was a good episode. We didn't get to none of the topics, but
that's okay.
It's all right. It's all good.
Dang, I do want to say an hour just ranting and like get high energy. Dang, I didn't even top flu.
I do want to say shout out to Killer Mike, who actually has been
Run the Jewels
vocal. He's not just. I'm getting to the album like a split second, but he's been vocal in the community, vocal in the streets. Yeah. But then he dropped. In my opinion, it will be a classic. I think it's going to come down because I've repeatedly have listened to this record over and over again.
Bro,
the content and it's not mumble rap. So for those who like, the Uzis and the Baby and all that, this ain't it. This ain't it. And honestly, I don't think the world even needs that right now.
Saying it's not like I don't call him a mumble rap. You understand what he's saying? You can hear him.
Yeah, you can hear him. But it's
I don't mean I'm listening.
I think this world is not really pertaining to that music right now. I think this world is on another wavelength with music, especially with everything going on. And I think Killer Mike and his buddy, I can't think of the other artists. Somebody help me with that. But Run the Jewels 4, they produced an album that was fitting.
Classic.
Classic. The production was insane. Whoever produced it, like, man, they did a thing. Between the first track and the last track was memorable. Yankee
LP.
and Brave, huh?
Bro. LP. Yep.
Yeah. I do want to ask though, who has the better album right now? Run the Jewels or Alfredo?
Run the Jewels easily, and here's why. Run the Jewels with that classic. Run the Jewels 4 from start to finish.
Yeah.
I got teary-eyed listening to the last track, Message for the Fire Rig Squad, bro.
Yeah.
Listen, this man, Killer Mike, talk about him and his wife. He said, people telling my wife I could be the next Malcolm or Martin. Yeah. And my wife said, I just need a husband, not a martyr.
Boy,
hit me right in. Oh, come on, man. But here's why the album was so not only was the album lyrically, content wise, production value, beat selection, all of it was on point. Features were dope, man. But they decided to push up the release date for the album. And so it drops in the climate that we're in right now. Beautiful. And it speaks directly to that. It was not just a marketing genius, but it was the perfect storm. And so this album is going to go down is already a classic, in my humble opinion. But this is going to be an album people will look back on and say, whoa, 2020, there was some stuff in 2020. And don't get me wrong, Alfredo was magnifico. But Run the Jewels 4, it was I almost feel like it is the album for right now. It is and not just for right now, but is the album for this moment. And as people listen to that album, this is an album you can listen to 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line. And if God forbid we are still in this state 5 or 10 years down the line, people will listen to that album and say, nope, we need to get back on the horse. Keep going. Keep going.
Go ahead. It's not only that, but shout out to the other artists who are dropping music reflecting their thoughts on what's going on, such as Meek Mill dropped
he did
Other Side of America. T Grizzly and Queen Naija with members of the Detroit Youth Choir dropped Mr. Officer. Trey Songz dropped 2020 Riots how many times? Dame
Lillard,
we appreciate that. Yeah, Dame Dollar
dropped that Blacklist. Boy,
he's
rapping.
We appreciate musicians using their platform to speak out of their own experiences or their own thoughts on what's going on, rather than just to kind of dismiss it and throw it to the side and be like, yeah, this is y'all trying to mess up my money. I'm trying to make money. It's like,
Well,
so
here we is.
On that note,
what episode?
I feel like it's fitting to leave out on this song, Living for the City.
Boy.
As we close out, guys, thank y'all so much. It's been a beautiful discussion, beautiful times, and be honest, I think we are in beautiful times. As much as we see all this stuff happening. I think we're in beautiful times. I think we're
beautiful struggle.
We're looking in hope. This is what they call a painful but beautiful process. We are processing as a unit. We're processing as a whole, and even ourselves. So I actually thank God that we're in this moment, because we have an opportunity to see some amazing stuff. But on that note, thank you guys for watching or listening to Let Us Speak episode 4. We're going to let this track ride out. My name is Cecil Williams, your host. This is my good buddies Osahan, Abraham.
You already know what it is.
LJ coming back off the DL soon.
Hey, I love you, Sarah. I appreciate you, by the way, Sarah.
Shout out to everybody listening on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. But if you're watching us on YouTube right now, thank you so much for watching us on YouTube. Please subscribe to all the platforms. And until then, this is Let Us Speak. We kept the 2 Virgils for you today. Until the next episode, we out. Steven says we out too.